No
That's
Names Given
awesome.
podcast episode next.
Yeah.
Not sure which one it is because we've been doing it for more than a year now,
Jeez.
which is sort
Been
of
a while.
amazing. Today we've got Dee Moore, who is the new Pretoria Fields brewmaster with us.
Hello.
Brewmeister Master.
Brewmeister master, who comes our way via Columbus. But anyway, so we're looking at becoming partners in Dublin for a new brewery field house.
Yeah.
And we want to talk about beer and what's going on in the brew house today. And so I guess first thing is we got these cool new boxes.
We did get
And
new
so-
boxes.
Yeah, we got new boxes. And for those that don't know,
We didn't have old boxes.
these are Pactex, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Pack Tech.
That's what they're called.
Pactex. And so, Dee, tell us what our issue has been with the Pactex recently.
You're throwing Pactec under the bus.
I am throwing Pactec under the bus because I think they're selling this thing and they don't let everybody. Anyway, go ahead.
Well, Pack Techs are the industry standard for packaging 6-packs of beer, and there's nothing wrong with that. Occasionally, and we actually use a machine to apply our Pack Tech. Occasionally, these things come apart. They don't hold beer well, and it's endemic in the industry that there are issues with those. But the box is the most professional presentation that a brewery can do, and we're a little ahead of the game. Usually when breweries reach 5,000 plus barrels is when they consider going to boxes. And
So we're not at 5,000 barrels yet?
we're going to hit that this year.
There we go.
And what I love about the box, though, is we can tell the story about this brewery on multiple facets on that box, where in a 6-pack, we have to tell you everything on each individual can. If you want to turn that box over and kind of read what's on the bottom, it's the story of this brewery, and I think it is what helps us engage with our customers and explains why we are here.
Yeah. So it says, in our quest to create the highest quality craft beer, we are proud to grow barley, wheat, hops, and various fruit on our farmlands. Experience a bit of South Georgia in every can. Named after the shoal, of course, this is Shoalie, so named after the shoal bass, or Shoalie, as they are affectionately known, this IPA boasts tropical notes of citrus, mango, papaya, and those who demand hop-forward flavor. 2% of proceeds are donated to the Flint Riverkeeper, who strives to protect Shoalie's habitat.
Yep.
We could never tell that story on a can. And
Well,
certainly,
at least not in that font
no,
size.
in that size, where you could really understand it, and I think that is important. I think these are attractive. People are going to see them on the shelf. Retailers love them because they keep the footprint consistent. This is a great step forward for this brewery.
All right. Excellent. I'm excited.
So how many of so we've got 3 brands that are going out in the boxes, or?
Actually, 4. We also have our Walker Station Stout going in boxes. The 1st of March, which is next week, those will be the first ones we send out. Kind of push a little bit of the existing inventory through the system, but they're going to stand out on the shelf. They're attractive looking, and beers don't fall out of them. I'm excited.
Yeah.
and Pactex boxes don't get stuck in fishing nets.
They don't. The Pack Tech is they're actually made out of post recycled content plastic, but still plastic is just not universally recycled. At least this is made out of paper. It's going to degrade over time. I have some concerns about Pack Techs. Period. Just we don't need more plastic on this planet. I like the boxes made out of paper. The paper that this box is made out of comes from a plant not too far from here in Alabama, and we have a nice connection. And this box is printed in Opelika, Alabama.
That's awesome.
There you go.
And unless you dip it in water and let it sit there, it's not going to fall apart.
Right.
And when you're drinking Pretoria with your buddies, it's a good fire starter.
That's a good fire starter.
it
Yeah, you
is.
take
Yeah,
it camping.
yeah, exactly.
Hey, very good.
It-
Fat lighter.
Cheers.
You actually have a really good point there. These have very high wet strength capability, so that beer could have all the condensation in the world, and it's not going to tear the box.
Wow.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
So, Rich, how did we meet? Do you remember?
Yeah, well, yeah. I walked in the front door of Pretoria and said, "Hello, I'm Rich Manning."
Right. I'll never live that down. Thanks, Todd. Todd Yates. I know you're watching this. I completely screwed it up. So
I'll
there we
make
go.
sure Todd gets a hold of that. Todd introduced us. He's like, "Hey, man, I got a friend. He got a brewery, man." No, Benny.
So I hadn't seen Todd, who's one of my fraternity brothers, in, I don't know, few years at least, and see him at the Georgia game, and he's in the trash business, and we get to talking, and he goes, "Man, we need a brewery in Dublin bad." And that's how it started.
Yeah,
He basically grabbed you by the shoulder and grabbed me by the shoulder and said, let's do this thing, or let's meet.
Let's talk. Yep. Andy and me, Todd, and James Lanier, and Andy came down, my general manager at Company Supply,
Yeah.
and hung out. We were already selling your beer.
Yes,
I
sir.
think that's what kind of triggered crap, that's a good idea. Yeah. The cool thing was that it happened organically. Like, there was no real meeting set up, and
Right.
Todd was like, "Hey, come! I want you to meet Trip and go check out what they got going on." And
Well, I think you had talked about, y'all had thought about doing this. I mean, like a lot of people. So brewing seems fun, right? D, is brewing fun?
No, I wouldn't say it looks fun.
I don't know.
It does look fun.
I think it looks fun.
it is.
It looks like work with the
It
end
is.
result being fun.
Yeah. So
It looks like fun.
so
man.
what
It
was
is,
your
it
previous job was in finance?
Yes, I was a financial
So what's more
advisor.
fun, financial advising or brewing?
Spreadsheets.
Let's see. We just had two of the worst days in the market ever. I'm really enjoying being in a brewery. No, make no mistake. No, it is fun. I mean, it is work. It's a lot of physical labor, and it's actually one of the reasons I'm in this business. I kind of enjoy that, and I don't like sitting at a desk all the time. I like being out working and putting my hands on things, and yeah, it's fun, and it's everybody's concept about what we do is very different from the reality. I tell
Oh
people,
yeah. Oh no doubt.
generally I tell people I'm a janitor with an MBA, and it is. Most of brewing is cleaning and sanitizing things, but that's part of the process. And there's not any day that I would prefer to be sitting at a desk, looking at a Bloomberg terminal, deciding. Whether I need to dip a toe with a client's money in the market. This is much more. It's much more enjoyable. I get a lot of satisfaction out of being creative, and
we get satisfaction out of your
Out of your
creativity.
creativity.
if you get
Maybe
creative-
that's the reason I love it, is because you're good at it. That could be a little bit of transference
and you
there.
can't go to jail for being creative and brewing beer.
That's
If you
true.
get creative in the financial market, you probably
You're giving me a little bit of trouble. You're right.
Bernie Madoff proved that. Your account doesn't exist.
Ooh,
No.
that's a bad
How are
day.
you?
I think it seeing it from this side, and you were saying we were kind of thinking about it. It looks like it's hard work, but look, as a culinarian, my life is about things being not the easiest and never really being the same. So you can build a menu and build a plate, but every day is different, right? And so the cool thing that I got to see is that today, walking around with D, it was it's systematic, but there's always things that could happen. And so anything that comes from the heart of passion and like wanting to do what you want to do and like being creative, you always have to have a backup plan in case something goes
Sure.
off the rails.
And having backup plans probably comes from your previous profession, which was what?
So, I was in the military. So I was,
Contingency plans.
I was in the
A lot of
Marine Corps,
contingency,
and I was an infantry officer in the Army, and contingency plans. There's always a black and gold plan, man. So like you always have a way in and a way out, and if the way out doesn't work, you got another way out, and you gotta build contingencies. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how. I guess it seems difficult, but I think it's a learning curve. And I think what's going to be cool is looking at the end product. So like if we make this all work out, my guys and my chefs that we're going to bring on to help us, D can help them kind of guide their creativity, and we could have some very cool stuff. And I always believe, like, if you're able to go in a controlled environment where you're able to create, but you have some guidance, I think you get an awesome product.
Sure.
You know, you don't want some crazy guy just putting jalapenos in socks and beer.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not going to work.
Is that wrong?
So
With the socks part.
I don't
So-
know. Terrapins puts bats. Don't they put bats in one of their beers?
bats.
No, like
baseball
like
bats
baseball
or-
bats.
Yeah.
I think Terrapin drops some wood from the baseball. Is that,
Is
is that okay?
Well,
It's called MLB beer.
Yeah, it was actually wood from Louisville Sluggers, and no, there's nothing wrong with that. But
What did it do for the taste?
we don't want bats in beer. I think that's how we got coronavirus.
Did it taste like pine rosin?
no, because obviously that's a very, very hard wood.
Yeah, they taste like corks.
No.
Then we'd know somebody's
It,
cheating.
it was a very bland wood flavor, but hey, I give them credit for trying. And,
Well, Rich, are you alluding to the fact that you're going to pair the menu to some beers and
Oh, so yes, I'm not alluding. I'm being the creativity that I look for in my guys is to kind of fit themselves within the parameter of the menu that we decide works.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
And then so I've already got a couple of guys that I've talked to about wanting to be involved on that side of it, and so they'll leave the restaurant. We have a pretty creative menu now. What I think I'm not going to do like a crawfish flavored beer, but
yeah,
like, I think doing things that match and have a good
and they pair with them.
that pair, and I think that we can take some like something that hit me like satsumas are one of the best tasting fruits in the world.
Sure,
they taste different. Like if you don't know what a satsuma is, they're a tangerine, but they taste different than a tangerine. So for me, if D could teach us how to make a satsuma, freaking.
We've had some
beer.
Satsuma beers.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Through here?
Yeah.
Yeah, we've had 30 plus different beers, and a lot of them, most of them have been fruited. Lots of them have come from ours, but farms all over the region.
I guarantee it's
either
got to
our
be more
region
than 30.
and in,
It's got to be more than 30
plus. Yeah,
Yeah, I would say 50 plus.
But
50 plus, maybe.
So
yeah,
well, we didn't know that. I mean,
Yeah.
didn't know that.
They're small batches that we do.
try.
Yeah.
But that's the kind of the culture. Like you have to give people autonomy. If you say, "Hey, man, go be creative," like I can't be like, "Hey, be creative in these terms." Like just fit within what we see
within the box. And
Yeah, but
make
just-
make good beers.
Yeah,
and
you can punch. Boxes are made to be bulged a little bit
yeah,
sometimes.
and some
Oh, yeah.
things work and other things don't. Yeah, we've made some
make
we've made
the
some
fire
stuff that
starter.
didn't
We'll put
sell.
some tall boys
and then
in there
we've made some
occasionally and
stuff
bulge them out.
that we can't keep on the shelf. So it's it's awesome.
A new opportunity to be creative is refreshing. So I think that'll be cool.
Well, so I really think your story's cool. So you came out of the military. How did the chef thing? You've told me the story. I just want everybody else to know it.
When I was taking a leak before, I was like, what if they asked me about my story? How do I make this into a 4-second blurb?
Yeah, we got plenty of time. You got plenty of time.
Yeah, man. Yeah, that'd be 4 seconds.
So my dad is from his family's from Calabria, Italy.
Yeah.
And my mom is from an old French Louisiana. They met in New York, and Italians and Louisiana folks, French, and the Cajuns, they're very similar in the way that they feel about family and food and like the intrinsic values that you gain from being around family, right?
Yeah.
And so it was a big part of my life, like the arguments with 42 of us around an 8-person table in a 12 by 12 room.
Sure.
It was the way we no matter how life turned or faded, my family was always a very important part of what we did. And
Thank you.
my brother married my sister-in-law my junior year of high school. And she gave me Real and Rustic by Ermal Lagasse. And I remember that was a present that I got for Christmas. And so when I went to college, I went to Louisiana Tech first, and I went up there, and one of my fraternity brothers owned I always knew I wanted to be in the food business.
Mhm.
I just thought it was cool. I grew up in New Orleans and Ponchatoula and St. Tammany and Tangipahoa parishes. It was a big part of the way we are culturally. Like, eating out and eating together is just a big part of it. And so I always knew that I kind of had some idea to get into the food business. I didn't know how I was going to do it. My dad had a pizzeria or something in a bowling alley once, and if I'm not mistaken, my dad had a nightclub and my mom worked for him. Like, so it was kind of we were always cooking something up, like it was whatever. Long story short, I go to work for my fraternity brother. Thank you, Ty Bromell, if you ever hear this, who owned a little gourmet sandwich and potato shop. And,
What fraternity were you in?
I was a Kappa Sig.
Yeah.
And I was a turd in college. Like, I just drank.
We all were.
Yeah, I was bad. But
We've often said we're glad we didn't know each other.
Yeah. I don't know if I enlisted or I was forced to enlist in the Marine Corps. So it's still questionable how I got there.
You woke up one day and you were there.
Yeah, I was standing on yellow footprints.
That's a hell of a goat run.
Yeah. Did a
dropping you off on
judge
Periscope.
order that?
No, a federal marshal did. But anyway. So I was working for Ty, and he was cool. I remember that it was like, hey man, just like do something cool, and it was in this old antique store, and so all these like blue-haired chicks would come in, and they'd be like getting their little trinkets, and then be like, we need a goat cheese and Gruyere and bacon potato, because we're eating healthy.
Yeah.
And so it was like
Bacon Gruyere, huh?
yeah,
It's healthy.
Because back in the late '90s, like potatoes were the thing because everybody thought that they were good for your health.
Yeah.
They're tasty, but I don't know if they'll make you skinny. And
No, they're not gonna make you skinny. They taste
So
good.
all these, so I started like really like enjoying just the ability to listen. And find out what somebody wanted, and then help create something that would make them happy. And for a 19-year-old ornery dude from South Louisiana, like to be able to talk to a 70-year-old lady from North Louisiana.
Sure, they want Gruyere cheese.
Yeah, it was a cool deal. So fast forward, Firewatch, and in the Marine Corps we used to carry around these camouflage books that were about this size. They were like an A6 size, like 5.5 by 7.5, and they were camouflage, and they called them knowledge. And so you had like note paper, and then you had like you had like your general orders and stuff were in there, the stuff that you needed to become a Marine. There was some history stuff in there, and we marched around MCRD Paris Island and MCRD San Diego. I went to San Diego, and even at Paris Island they do the same thing, and it's the beginning of your recruit training. Right, so you walk around in your goofy tennis shoes.
Sounds like pledgeship.
It's a lot like pledgeship, but not as. But pledgeship might have been a little more painful. So you walk around with these things, and it's weird, but you become intimate with this book, and so all of like the things that sucked in life would go away when you were on Firewatch because nobody was yelling at you. It was quiet and dudes were sleeping. And so it was kind of your time. Like I look forward to Firewatch, right? Because I could sit there and I started drafting the first version of my restaurant.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's cool. That's
And there was this fountain and this outdoor courtyard and like, I had no clue what I was. I mean, I worked at a potluck potato place, and I washed dishes at a place in New Orleans that is relatively well known that I don't want to like blur about. But because I don't know if I was working there legally or not.
He never got 1099.
Yeah. So that was kind of the beginning, and I was. You go do mess hall duty, and in boot camp after the rifle range, or I can't remember if it was before or after, you go up and you do this cool. Well, a lot of guys thought it sucked. I thought it was cool. Well, you do this mess hall thing and you feed the Marines, and I really liked it. I really liked it. And so as I went on in the Marine Corps, anytime mess hall would come up, and they, especially when I was a corporal, they were like, "Hey, I need an NCO to do mess hall." I'd be like, "Well, send me. I don't have to go to the rifle range."
And I can cook.
Yeah. And so, and as I was transitioning out of the Marine Corps, I was at my last duty station was at Parris Island. I met this so I worked at Weapons Battalion on the range, and I'm sure if anybody in Albany that was in the Marine Corps in 99 to 2001 at Parris Island, I probably walked them through the range, but. I worked and I went to school at USC Beaufort, and I worked at a bar. I was a bar back, and then I worked at Applebee's. And I met this cool chef at Applebee's whose wife was a Navy doc, and and he followed her around. He was a real chef, and so wherever she landed, he'd go get a job. And he
They had an Applebee's in Beaufort in
it's one of the
99?
most grossing Applebee's because
I was thinking that was probably one of the only things there. Was
now Beaufort's got a lot of
it's
cool
huge
spots
now, yeah.
So they had that. I remember when they got the first Outback. It was right as I was transitioning out. But there were some cool the bank. There were some cool little places, Hemingway's, that were there. But I was trying to make some quick cash and get on out. And anyway, this chef stops me dead in my tracks. Like, and I went to Johnson and Wales and like applied, got my GI Bill, was going to fund it. He's like, "Look, dude. You can go apprentice and go get a degree in something that matters," because I wasted $100,000. It's what a 3-letter school that he went to.
Sure.
And he's like, "Man, just go get your business degree or get a degree in hospitality management, and then go apprentice and just learn the ropes." And so it was moving to Charlotte. Johnson Wales was moving to Charlotte, and I really didn't want to go to Charlotte. I wanted to go to Charleston.
Yeah.
I was single, and like, I was like, I'm going to go to Charleston.
Yeah.
So I wound up.
Charleston's awesome.
Yeah. So I wound up taking his advice, and
That's one of the only reasons I went to medical school there.
so you're a doctor.
You did well.
Oh, you're not. He's not.
I found a wife.
No, he has a beautiful wife.
Yeah.
So
She's like a multiple doctors.
she was like finding multiple doctors. That is true.
Physical, mental, like everything.
Everything. Yeah.
That's what
deal.
behind every great man is a better woman.
Yep.
That's what they
But
say.
back to Johnson Wells.
So I really like I told you, Emerald Lagasse started my whole desire. Actually, my Emerald Lagasse and my sister-in-law. My sister-in-law is one of the most amazing human beings in the world. And she was an awesome she's an awesome chef. She still is. And she did her first husband before my brother is a very well-renowned restaurateur and chef in Louisiana. And a lot of what he did, I think, was based on her cooking, right? Like, not that he stole it, but she's a good, she's a badass in the kitchen. Like, you walk in and like she's doing laundry and taking care of 3 kids and like cooking up gnocchi and seared filet. Like,
That's awesome.
and if you leave your jacket on the back of her chair, she's gonna throw it in the washing machine and it's may or may not be dry before dinner's open. Dinner's over. So she influenced me to want to cook. Like, I think it was her personality and her willing to serve and kind of like just love on people. Like, and it was something good at that time that I needed to see. So I really, and Emerald Lagasse became kind of like I thought he was the coolest dude in the world, but that was the scope, that was my vantage point of the culinary industry at that point. And then there's some other great chefs that as I've gotten older that I was like, those dudes are awesome. And Emerald Lagasse went to Johnson & Wales, which is why not only was it Charleston, it's where Emerald Lagasse went.
Yeah.
And I remember being in the Marine Corps in Beaufort, like my friends would come over and they would always expect me to cook something up. Like, and it started, like, in this thing kind of happened. So I got out of the Marine Corps early on an early out, like a 3 months, they called it a school cut, 60 days. And I enrolled at University of South Carolina, Columbia. Worked for some very cool dudes when I was there. Then I started getting pulled, and I was a kitchen dude, but I kept getting pulled into the front of the house. Everyone thinks, "Oh, you were a Marine, you can manage stuff."
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Or punch
With
people
yeah, exactly. With or without firearms.
So
just let me interject. So were you working on a hospitality management
So I wound
type
up getting my
degree?
degree in hospitality management.
Okay, that's where
Right. So actually, when I was there, was HRT, Hotel, Restaurant, and Tourism Management. And so I got out as I was getting out of school. I took a job with Ryan's Steakhouse,
Mhm.
And because at that point, it was about me and how much money I could make. And I lost as soon as I got pulled out into management, and I wasn't wearing a coat anymore. And I was like, oh well, you can make more money in the front of the house as a manager than you can as a chef. And so I kind of took the money route instead of the passion route.
Sure.
Which was the beginning of a 15-year like I got to fit a long story, but it's kind of like. I should have followed my passion because at 42, man, like if I can make 40 grand a year and cook and create recipes, and that was my only responsibility, that probably, I don't know what else would have happened. I mean,
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? Like I might not have been I may not have had kids. I may not have gotten married. Like, you don't know where you would have gone, or you might have been, might have become a 5-star Michelin rated chef. I mean, who knows?
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's a crapshoot.
Yeah, it is a crapshoot. So I started kind of following that deal down the road. So my brother calls me on like a Thursday, and he's like, "Hey, bro," and I have this 2-door Tahoe, and I'm going to Greer, South Carolina. I got this Irish setter sitting in the front, like typical like frat cat, right? So I'll go out to the bars and hang out with my buddy, and I'm at the bar, and I had these 2 buddies, and this is the beginning of the change of my life. So it was crazy. My two close buddies was a guy named Tony and a guy named Lance, and they used to call us the TRL show.
There you
Tony, Rich, and Lance. So my brother, literally, I'm getting ready to go out to have a good time, and my wife had this party for me at the restaurant that I worked in the kitchen. So I was a kitchen guy, and then I moved to the front of the house, and I went back and forth. So she got all my friends together. And as we're going there, my brother's like, he calls me. He's like, "Hey man, I think you're making a bad decision. Why don't you come back to Mandeville, which is a suburb of New Orleans? He's like, come work for me. It's gonna suck. You're gonna make like 30 grand a year." And he's like,
And you're gonna love it.
you're gonna love it. And he's like, but at the end of it, you'll be. He said, "You give me a year, we'll all be making a ton of money." And I was like, but I got this thing, and I got to graduate college, and I have to do this. And so he's like, "Well, I'll get you a job with this famous chef that I graduated high school with," and he did.
Yeah.
And I moved to Louisiana in my 2-door Tahoe with my Irish setter and all my life belongings.
Yeah.
And I went down there, and I started working with this dude. I wore black pants to work at my brother's company. And I would leave my brother's company and go to this restaurant and work. And it was wash, rinse, repeat. One day the dude walks in and says, "Hey man, I just got this badass offer from a gas company on the Texas-Colorado border, and I'm closing up shop in 2 weeks." And that was the end of this dude he's a very well known, awesome dude. You always wonder like what's going on. Well, God's always got a direction for you, and he's going to like kind of push you where you're supposed to go. And for me, he was teaching me skills that I thought that I already had, but I didn't.
Yeah,
like
sure.
I'm 25 years old. I think I know everything, and I got humbled.
Oh, I did know everything at 20.
At least you thought. I thought I did.
Yeah.
I thought my dad was an idiot too, and then I realized, man, he was actually really
Giving you good
smart.
advice.
I
Yeah,
could go back and talk to my 25-year-old self.
it's
My dad, those high-waisted Levi's make him very smart, and I should take notice and start wearing them.
I want everybody to know that Rich is actually, he is probably more Calabrian than he thinks, because man, so my grandfather's Calabrian.
I couldn't tell. I mean,
His hands, when he gets passionate about something, are going at 90 miles an hour. They're like all over the place. He's like talks with his hands.
hey, you know how you shut an Italian up?
Yeah.
Tie his hands behind his back.
Exactly. So, just another side note. My son talks with his hands, and he's like, "I don't understand why I gotta move my hands when I talk." I'm like, "I know exactly why. Because it's your grandfather."
You're talking with your hands. Don't try to stop it.
Exactly.
let the olive oil shine through, baby.
That's cool.
No, we're back to guy went to the
Yeah, the guy left.
oil. Yeah.
Oh,
And
yeah,
you were
so he
like-
left. So I went to work, and so my brother's right, dude. I start making buttload of. I mean, it just got good, right?
Yeah.
Like, and so I was like, the hell with the restaurant industry. Well, I'm white knuckling home from Charlotte every day, and I'm still doing stuff. I'm doing like 200-person crawfish bowls. I flew out to the fish show, and my brother in Indio, California. Me and my brother did a catering for like 10,000 people, jambalaya and gumbo out in Indio, California. It was amazing, and I went out there, and I already was kind of like my brother, my brother who owned the company after Hurricane Katrina moved out to Arizona. They at that point, I guess they decided as their corporate group decided they needed to kind of move things around. So we had offices around 4 offices around the country. So he goes out there and he calls me. He's like, "Hey man, like I really need help. I got myself into something with this guy, and there are gonna be like 40,000 people at this fish show, and there are only like 7 vendors." And I was like, "What?" And he's like, "Man, you think you can make gumbo and jambalaya?" So we went out there
For 40,000.
Now I think we sold. I want to say we sold like 6,000 plates as well.
Wow.
Still,
It's still a lot.
It was a lot. It was over 3 days. I mean, so it worked, and it's easy once you make batches. You can kind of make it happen. But we were next to these dudes who had like this drill and an anvil, and they were like making curly fries. So we had split a tent with this other vendor. And it was crazy. And we were and just by default, the jambalaya, we were like one of the only people there that had kosher food. And
okay.
And the fish, there are a lot of practicing Jews that follow fish, and I had no clue.
Yeah.
Like I didn't know. And so like my one of the guys that was with us, he says, "Hey man, all this stuff's kosher. Is that a rabbi?" And I was like, "That is a rabbi." And so he sticks out the sign, says, "We have kosher food." And so like we went from like no business to like
Tons of it. Right?
and like literally this Hasidic rabbi walks up to us, and like he walks up, he's got the curls and the hat, and he's like, and I was like, "At fish?" And he started explaining to me that Fishman is, and so he's got, and in the Northeast there are a lot of
Do you have to
followers.
pay him?
No, dude, he ate it up. I mean, and then like the next customer would be like, "Hey man, can you like, I'll sell you some shrooms for a bag of."
Was that kosher?
I'll leave it there. So I think that was kind of the turning point for me. My wife was pregnant with my second kid, and I just hated being in an office, dude. Like you, and
Totally get it.
and my passion in life, and it was, I mean, till I was 38, my passion in life was making myself happy. But the underlying passion was that I love people, and I want to, I want to make people happy. And because of the things that I remember in my childhood that made me the happiest was pretty much doing what we're doing right now, but with food involved.
Sure.
And so,
So hold that thought, because that's exactly what you and I talked about on the phone. We've talked about it several times in person and on the phone, how we don't, like, my idea around business. Well, for number one, it started with physician, which was, I feel like, a calling. I feel like the guys who are good doctors, they went into it because they felt a calling, because there's no amount of money that could ever reimburse you for the thing.
chasing the dream and not the dollar, dude.
Yeah.
Chasing the dream and not the dollar. and then the other things that we've done is just because I grew up in South Georgia. I mean, I grew up around farming, so we farm. I mean, that's what it is. I grew up around it. It goes back several generations in my family. And before we get to that part, I wanted to go to D, and we'll do many, many podcasts with D in the future. But D, tell us how you got here, because it's a cool. I mean, it's your story, but I want to know. I want our people to understand. Like, you were in the financial world, and like a lot of, like, it's what I tell people. Like, brewers are some of the hardest working people that I've met. Eric Kirchner, who I love, who's had babies out in California, and totally wish him well if he's watching this. He slept in the brewery for 2 weeks when we opened, and he was working almost 24/7, getting valves the right way and making sure that things were hooked up and working water from one point to another point. And
Another
so,
side note: you're about as like anal about stuff as he was. I
oh
mean,
gosh, anal in a good way.
yeah,
like
like
just passionate about what
just
you do.
like the,
I mean, when I said
a lot of
you
people
love it,
like
like-
so sanitation's like huge.
Well,
Like, and so is like looking in the lab at stuff and doing all the things that you do. It just reminds me a bunch of
Kirchner.
yeah.
Deliberate's a good word, not anal. Use
It
deliberate.
is.
Okay, deliberate. Yeah,
But-
fair
but-
enough.
Process driven.
well, exactly.
Process
I'll
driven.
use all the key words.
But passion is the word, and that really is what drives somebody to do this in this industry, especially today. And no, actually, he was doing the right things. I mean, he was so passionate about this, he spent the night at the brewery. I mean, it's just it really is, and honestly, it goes back to the things we will do for beer, and it is. There is a passion to this business that just is, it's unique. There is some connection to the food service industry for sure. Chefs have it, and those guys are working 16 hours a day because they just want to make, they would love to control every single plate they ever put out. They would want to have put it on the plate themselves and served it to the customer. And that's kind of where I came from. I have a interesting background as far as where I started with brewing. And in 1990, when I was at the University of Georgia, I was 19 years old. I could not buy beer, but I saw an ad in the Red and Black, our little student newspaper, about make your own beer, and I was like, "Oh, this would be a great idea." I'll tell you what, man, I could just buy one of these kits, and man, we'll start selling beer to fraternities. Man, they can't buy it either. little did I know they could buy anything they wanted to, and so I started homebrewing in a little apartment out on Atlanta Highway at. Back then we called it Sussex apartments. There wasn't much sex going on there, but it was a little apartment, and we started homebrewing, and with my roommate who was 21, who had just gotten back from the Navy, and so he could buy beer when our homebrew didn't quite turn out, and learned a lot way back then. And homebrewing was really just in its infancy. At that time, very few providers of ingredients or even knowledge. I mean, we had Charlie Papazian had a book called How to Brew, and that was it. There was nothing else. I mean, even John Palmer, that really actually wrote the book How to Brew, he didn't even have that book published yet. So, really interesting, back in those days and what you could end up making. And beer's not that complicated, but today the craft beer drinker is much more sophisticated. We appreciate international styles and, Belgian lambics and German lagers. They're part of everybody's brewery vernacular today. And so I left a relatively lucrative career in the financial services industry. Started in 95 after I graduated, and spent 15 years in that business. I went through 96 was a bad barn market. 98 we had the collapse of long-term capital management, the dot-com bubble, and then 2008 was effing enough for me.
Well, but so
I said effing.
but that's when I realized was 2000. So in the collection business, like he's saying, all of that paper dried up, right? And so it had to be collected. And so I was fat in 2008 in the business that I was in.
That was your
yeah. And so when
your
it
thing.
tanked, I was like, "Screw this, man! I didn't mean to steal it."
No, you're right.
But it changed your life, and it changed. I mean,
wow.
It changed
Medical
America.
reimbursement dries up. We got
Yeah.
It won't be long.
But it is. He's exactly right. That timing was just, it's enough. It's stressful when you're managing people's retirement money, and people, it's like this. You only want to retire once.
Right.
You don't have to go back to work and try to retire again. And I just said enough of this, and would rather do something I'm passionate about that I enjoy. And I certainly
What
believe.
year was that? If I don't, I mean, it was after 2008.
Yeah. 2010 was it, and I left them. I essentially moved my book of clients to another financial advisor, and said, "Good luck. I'm getting out of this business." And what I actually ended up doing is funny. We have a kind of a connection here on the food service side. I was a competition barbecue guy for a long time, and I actually opened up a barbecue food truck, and I was successful. I did it for 4 years, which if you're doing any restaurant or any food service, anything, if you can make it 4 years, you had the right concept. And I had a barbecue, everyday barbecue food truck, but I also changed the menu up each day because I was actually parked at a brewery and providing all their food service. So I was unique in that I had the barbecue was my base, but I changed the menu every single day. I made shepherd's pies. I did Kentucky hot brown sandwiches. I just changed the menu each day. I did tacos every Tuesday, and it was letting me get those kind of creative juices going again. And then I was thinking maybe I'm going to get back into brewing, and so my food truck was called D's Butts. And I promise you, there isn't anybody in Columbus, Georgia, that doesn't remember D's Butts. And it was great, and had a lot of fun doing it. Yeah, and but I ended up.
Thank God you didn't have a pecan.
Yeah, yeah.
So you went from there to Omaha? Is that how you got there?
I did. I essentially the founding brewmaster of Omaha, Nick Fowler. Kept telling me with the food truck, because he was buying food from me, most evenings. And he's like, D, I'm telling you, I asked people around town and said, who's the best home brewer in Columbus? And they say it's you. And I was like, well, that's great, but I don't think you can pay me enough to go to Omaha. And says, well, I know I can't, but you're going to want to do this. You're that guy. You're going to really enjoy this. And I was like, well, maybe I'll see. And
That's what we told you.
Yeah.
Hey man, can you be the best brewer in Dublin?
No, but you can, and I'll guarantee you will be. It's just commitment to process, and a lot of it is hard work. It's I told this to Tom. I said, and I think I may have said in the meeting, you do not pay me to be your brewmaster. You pay me to give a damn, and giving a damn is the most important thing. Where, I have to be paying attention to every single thing at all times. I have 999 ways to get this wrong. I have one way to get it right, and it's unique in most professions where you strive for perfection every day, but you'll never reach it.
Yeah,
it doesn't exist.
And one of the things I loved about you was your passion about what you're doing now, but also your vision about what you want to do in the future. And so Dee wants. Just like we're talking about doing a field house in Dublin, Dee would like to do a field house in Columbus, and that's how we got to where we are. I mean, we had a meeting, and it turned out a little bit different than how you were expecting it to turn out. So I hope in a good way.
Yeah, absolutely, still here, and I'm enjoying every day. I mean, it's just there are issues that are that every production craft brewery goes through, and this one is no different. We have to satisfy a lot of different customers, and a lot of consumers don't realize our number one customer is a beer distributor.
Oh gosh!
Because we can't move a single unit without a beer distributor under the 3-tier system, and so as much as I would love to think that consumer that's just opening up a can of Sholey right now is my ultimate consumer, they're really not, because if I don't have a product that I can send to a beer distributor that will take it in the volumes necessary, at the timing necessary, as fresh as possible, and put it on the shelf as fresh as possible, it doesn't matter what I tell the consumer or my concern for the consumer. I can't control it. So we have multiple levels of customers.
So our idea is a pub system.
Yes.
And so where does that come from?
I believe in the state of the craft beer industry.
European thing.
It is very,
Public house?
Yeah. The public house, and the pub system is unique. And you think about England, where generally the brewery owns the pub that their beer is served at. So you could have a brewery like Samuel Smith, and they make fantastic ales. And the only way that you would drink a Sam Smith beer in England is either at the brewery or at one of the pubs that they own all over the country. And it's really unique, but what it does is it preserves the customer's experience. The narrative is exactly what Sam Smith wants you to know about this beer. So it's not like walking into a Taco Mac where they have 300 different taps from different manufacturers.
Love Taco Mac, though.
We do love Taco Mac.
Love Taco Mac.
We do love Taco Mac, and we sell
Taco Mac. Corporate people are listening. We love you.
It is, and we sell a lot of beer there. But
It's just very different.
but the pub system is, only one manufacturer is represented on the tap wall, and it's very unique. And I believe this is the pub system the English are getting away from.
Yeah. And the Americans are finally.
The Americans are
We're embracing,
but the Americans are embracing it. And there was a time in America where the pub system was embraced. You could go to a place that only served old Milwaukee beer, and that's it.
Yeah.
And they were actually owned and relatively controlled by the brewery. And certainly around 1900, that was the way things were. But I believe that concept is coming back. The advent of tasting rooms for breweries and satellite tasting rooms for breweries, it's occurring out west in a lot of interesting ways. You're going to be able to go to this concept that's going to have every beer that you're going to want to drink at that location. So, yes, pub says
feedback.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm looking at the producer now.
I got a little static.
We got static. Right. As soon as we say it,
Not
it's
so
gonna-
much here.
but
Or
right.
Yeah, right there.
Right.
Yeah, right there. Yeah.
Feedback. It's going.
Hey, just to kind of jump on what Dee was saying about the brew pub. I remember the whole Main Street thing kind of coming back, right? Like we used to love malls and eating at corporate chain restaurants because my dad, who grew up in Brooklyn, like everything was like neighborhood run.
Sure.
And I remember like when Ruby Tuesdays became the thing, he was like, dude, I'm going to Ruby Tuesdays. I'm gonna have me a Manhattan and meet a girl. Right? Like, and so it was cool. And like going to the mall was cool.
Yeah.
Right. But like I remember like it happened like overnight and everybody was like, hey man, we gotta go back local. We gotta go after Main Street. And like I think that people in small rural communities or not just rural in the Southeast and in the Midwest and probably all over the country, but I'm just talking about what I've been exposed to. But like, dude, people want to know the dude who's got their hand on their food,
Sure.
and on their beer, and so I think that the pub system meshes into being local and homegrown and kind of involved in community, and I think that's what people are really.
So in the late 1800s, there were over 3,000 breweries in the United States. And that was early into the 1910s, and I don't remember exactly when Prohibition was. Obviously, after that, it went to zero. And then it slowly sort of has crept back up. I think we're at 2,500?
No, 8,100.
8,100, okay.
8,100 brewers notices right now.
But think about how many
are in distribution?
How many more what the population is now compared to what it was in the in the 1900. So, our population now is 300 million as compared to I don't know what it was at 1900, but 3,000 compared to 8,000.
Didn't 150 million people get killed by gun violence from 2000?
According to Joe Biden, yes. Yeah, I think he was a little
we only
off.
lost half America.
Joe's a little off.
It hit me. I couldn't hold it.
Joe's a little off on his math and a little off.
As long as you're not a Republican, you can say whatever you want.
As long as what?
As long as you're not a Republican, you can say whatever you want to.
So, but like, I don't know. I grew up on a block. We had a local butcher shop on that block.
Yeah.
We had a local grocery store on that block, and there was no reason to go to any other block because, this is not a huge town in Pennsylvania that I grew up on, and then we had a local brewery.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what everybody
Is it a
supported.
Hosey?
What?
A Hosey?
A hosey.
Yeah. So
We didn't have a hosiery. That was Joe Namath.
Nice. So there's this really cool thing in Pennsylvania that was actually started by Benjamin Franklin called hosies.
Yeah.
They pay for the fire department through bars through.
That had to be the 1800s. That couldn't have been.
No, they still got it. They still
have
got
it?
it, baby. You can be a member of your local fire department
And support them through drinking beer.
Yes,
That's awesome. We should do that
The
here.
hose- I know.
I don't know why
It
we
would-
can't.
Yes, it
support
would
a
be much
multitude.
better funded.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny. Kind of funny.
Yeah. We support the front river keeper.
Yeah.
Keep shoal bass in the river.
So, so getting back to, I'm sorry, we get a squirrel
Segue.
away from everything else, but so passion in what you do, and one of the things that that I've enjoyed about getting to know Rich is his passion in his business, and the fact that he's not doing what he does for money, but because he loves the food industry and he loves making his community better, and he loves.
I do want to make money, Trip. That is. I do have to support.
Let's just throw that out there.
It's as Tom says, we're all coin operated.
Yeah, you're over there canonizing me. I just gotta be. I gotta be honest.
He's doing it for free.
Go eat a company supply.
All right,
Everything's
right.
for free.
Where's Sean Henley? Where's Sean Henley?
Sean ain't letting us do anything for free.
We'll get our spreadsheet out.
CFO.
CFO will come in.
Thinking about that. You're like. I was like,
That's a good point.
Well, that's a lot of what misery is everybody incorporating their misery into everybody incorporating what they're miserable about. They want to bring you in it. And instead of doing
Drag you
that,
down.
make everything just a little bit better.
I'm gonna sum up the Facebook post.
Yeah.
Which one? The one I posted?
No, Lawrence County online. I love Lawrence County. Man, I don't understand why we don't have an Olive Garden here. Ain't nothing to do in town. It's the craziest, well, dude. Like, so this dude, like, it's the craziest thing. Like, so there's a dude who just dropped about $2 million on a project in downtown Dublin. He's got a beautiful building. He put some palm trees on the top. They're neon. And at first you're like, holy shit, they're freaking palm trees on the top of a historic building. But then you're kind of like, oh, what's kind of a cool idea?
I saw him.
Why didn't I think about that? But that's not my theme. That's his theme. And like and so me and this guy haven't like seen eye to eye, but like I don't hate him or anything like that. But
Right.
but I have respect for what he's doing because he sees things probably the same way that I see them. He just we're not doing it the same way or together. But anyway, like I don't like go on the attack on Facebook, but like this chick's like, I can't stand the palm trees. And I finally got on there. I was like, and me and this guy are like, people know that he and I haven't been like best buddies, and I'm friends. He's got some partners that I'm friends with. Just he and I have not seen eye to eye. But like, I wasn't going to I'm about Dublin, like, right. Like I'm about the community that I live in. And so I just jump on there and I was like, look, lady, like, until you freaking build a house, you can't start throwing bricks.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, pipe down.
Yeah.
Like,
What have you done?
Drive to Macon and go to O'Charlie's or whatever.
Right.
Like, if that's what you want. But that's that dude's dream, and that's what he wants to do. And he's given an option, and you're bitching about it, but you're not there. I said, get in your damn car, drive downtown Dublin. You got 5 options, 6 options to eat, and stop whining.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like just act support your community, because they're like, why don't we have a Buffalo Wild Wings? Well, bro, because the demographics in our market don't make sense. That's why. Like, and if it sucks so bad, go to the bank and borrow some money and
Start a
make your
franchise.
dream.
Invest
There you go.
one.
Like, don't make, just because you suck don't make everything around you suck. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
Dude, people love to complain about things.
It is. It's a mentality. And
But so what color's the neon?
it's dude. It's actually cool.
the building
I
looks
know
cool as hell to me.
like right now, like somebody from Dublin will hear this. Like,
I think it's cool.
I liked it.
But so what happens is we get so our emotions become like, we become subjective about our emotions, right? And the way we feel like as leaders and what we're doing, and somebody may be coming in on what we're doing. But dude, let me tell you, the coolest thing in the world is to go to your downtown on a Saturday night and there'd be nowhere to park. Like that is like, and like, dude, that's awesome. And they're little booger eaters running around smearing their little booger fingers on people's windows.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Like, you know, because they're running around.
That's right.
Like there's stuff to do, bro. That's America. That's like I'm not going to offend anybody, but that's why your parents your grandparents immigrated here like mine, because this is the dream.
Yeah.
Right. And so
way
like,
better than what they had.
oh yeah, dude. And so like that's
It's way better than anybody else has today.
Yeah.
Yes, I went to India last summer, bro. Do you know like I bought a KFC like bucket for like $4.50, and like I'm walking over shit when I'm going into somebody's house. Like it's real.
Yeah.
That's how people live.
Yeah.
And they're like they're more educated than us, most of the Indians, like especially the Indians, like they go to school. They're not like, it's just there's nothing going on there. So like, and they're great people, right? Like, and we often take,
And they're super smart.
that's
I mean, it's not, you know, we're not better because we're more intelligent.
no.
I mean, it's luck. I guess it's luck. I don't know what
I don't
it
know
is.
I think a lot of it's freedom.
Freedom.
It is, well,
luck.
they are pretty free in India, but I don't know what it is. But dude, like we're here. Our town was built on the back of middle, small town, rural America, right?
Yeah.
And I feel, and you asked me, and this has been a long diatribe on like how I think you guys get that. And I think that for us and what we do at Company Supply, like my logo is honest food made daily. I bring in, like, I don't lie about what we do. Like we use no hormone, no antibiotic food. But dude, I have three items that come in frozen because I can't get fresh raw tuna off the boat into my restaurant to be able to plate it for you for $20. I can't do it.
Right.
And you're not going to spend $39 for it. I'll drive to Darien and go get it, but you're not going to pay for it and it's going to get ruined. Right. And so if you ask me something about my menu, it's about the truth in menu.
Sure.
And so it's about being honest with you, like with your community and what you're about. And I picked that, and you asked me why, dude, because I picked it up. I mean, I was a reconnaissance officer. I watch people do stupid shit all the time, and and like I'm ADD as hell, but I don't miss much.
Yeah.
Like I'm the guy that walks in the restaurant and finds the dime under table 23, tucked all the way in the back corner because I pay attention to stuff.
If it's tails, do you pick it up?
No, leave it on the floor for somebody else.
Exactly, man.
I think that
flip it over,
and I like
flip it over at least.
I like the whole thing about honesty because we were, and you know, Todd was a part of this conversation at the very beginning, and we said, you know, we feel like moving forward that the pub system, which was how Dee was explaining it, is the way to be successful because of how laws and because of what we feel like is people want local. So how do we make Pretoria Fields local, and how do we support local organic agriculture and local farming and local natural resource management from that standpoint? And I think moving around with partners just like you who have already done those things in their small towns throughout the state is how we would like to do it.
Dude, it's working hard, right? Like, so yesterday I was at this thing and they show a picture of Jobs holding up a phone, right? And the guy doing the presentation, and you can't see it at home. Or can they see this?
Stephen Jobs?
Maybe.
Is he on your phone?
Yeah, they were talking, no, but they were showing a picture, and the guy held up a picture of Stephen Jobs holding up
iPhone.
an iPhone.
Sure.
How much this changed, right? And so honesty and what the way we think about things is changing, right? And so this makes us be able to do more, eat more easy. But the things that keeps us together, you know, why do people stay together and love each other in Italian American families? Because everybody was working their ass off trying to make a good life.
Yeah.
Right. And then and we've gotten so large in the way we think about things. It's okay to make money, but we want to do it faster and easier and more efficiently. And so the us gets taken out of our business sometimes. Like the businesses that make sense to me, that do the most, are where the dudes and the girls that are doing it are in there sweating their off, or at least putting their mind behind the people that work for them. They're in their businesses, right? You have to do that. And the small pub style is attractive too, because the big boys are going after major licks real quick and real fast, but you got to work your to do a craft brewery and then to shelf it and then to get it out. There's a different work element, I think.
Oh, no doubt.
And
What do you think, D?
way
Some
different.
work?
I'm not talking
It is,
crazy.
but it's honest work. Like the restaurant industry, you know. I mean, you end up with a product that you can be proud of. You can see the reaction on people's faces when they taste your food or drink your beer, and you know you've made something that's at least had an impact. Yeah. And I think that's going to be the compelling story that we're able to tell going forward.
Yeah.
In both of these businesses.
I just got one question really quick.
Okay.
Palm trees, neon.
They're pretty awesome.
I know.
They're on top of a
see-
building
On
in
top of
Dublin.
it, and they got
I saw them, and I was like, "That's a place
Have
we're
you
going to go
seen
next time."
Crockett and Tubbs up there?
Yeah, they have a Ferrari Testarossa on top of the building too.
Dude,
I don't even know how they get up there, but
You have
I'm
to wear
thinking-
you have
I'm
to wear a
thinking
white coat with a turquoise
linen
T-shirt
pants,
underneath.
Yeah, exactly, dude. Linen.
Hey, will you get rid of all the cuss words, please? Because my wife will kill me. Hey, no, but no, it's the palm trees. The palm trees are awesome, and the cool thing about that is, like I said, on Saturday I drove past work. I was off. I took the week off to take my kids on their winter vacation, and I was gonna go into work, and my manager's like, "Look, dude, we're already slammed. I don't know what you'll do to help me out." Blah blah blah. But so I drove around, dude, and every business downtown was booming.
That's awesome.
That's
I
awesome.
mean, that's great.
And-
What
and-
more
and
can you ask?
You can't. And so now we go throw a nano pub into it. I like the idea of calling
Nano?
something
Banana pub.
a nano pub. I like it, dude. And so you go throw that downtown. We add another element, and so then all of the 5 counties that we service now have a cooler thing to go to, and they don't have to drive to Atlanta or to
That they
Macon,
can call their own.
that they can call their own. And then I mean, so I don't know.
The community will get behind it.
Palm trees are awesome.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's cool.
So if you enjoyed the podcast, hit subscribe. Please listen to the next episode. And
How many
thank you.
subscribers do we have?
I think we're almost 400. 370.
Way better.
Can I subscribe?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, man. 401.
All right. Thank y'all.
Later.